I'm making a new Survivors-like game called Nanoplanet Survivors, and I'll tell you how you can play it right now for free, but we'll get to that in a minute. First, if you're unfamiliar with the Survivors-like genre, let me fill you in. The genre really took off with Vampire Survivors, an indie game that became a major hit in late 2021. The core gameplay is deceptively simple, yet highly addictive. You control a character, navigating waves of enemies, while weapons fire automatically. This allows you to focus on avoiding enemies entirely and making upgrade decisions. As you collect experience, you level up and select upgrades that stack in creative and powerful ways, transforming your character from a fragile survivor to an unstoppable force. Drawing inspiration from classic arcade action games and Metroidvania style art, Vampire Survivors is the perfect blend of rapid progression, roguelike elements, and strategic choices. This formula sparked a wave of similar games, all offering that same feeling of becoming absurdly powerful against hordes of enemies. So as you can see, it's a pretty enticing genre to develop for. You can create engaging and unique gameplay with every run without needing the manpower of a AAA studio to complete a game. I didn't always intend for my game to be a Survivors-like. It was originally going to be an entirely different genre. But before I get into that, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content so far. It really helps a lot and ensures that you don't miss future updates on Nanoplanet Survivors. Also, if you want to play Nanoplanet Survivors, I'll be participating in the Steam Nextfest on October 14th, 2024. And you can download the free demo on Steam today. Click on the link in the description below and be sure to wishlist the game to help me with the Steam algorithm when it releases. Back to the origins of Nanoplanet Survivors. I actually started on the first iteration of Nanoplanet around the same time as Vampire Survivors blew up in late 2021, but I had no idea what that game was or what it would eventually become. The original concept for Nanoplanet Survivors, it was just called Nanoplanet back then, was to make a Stardew Valley-like game set in space with a heavier focus on action. It also included fighting alien enemies and surviving the harsh elements of a foreign planet. I still really enjoy the initial concept, but even though I had played and enjoyed games like Stardew Valley in the past, I wasn't super into that genre. I spent over a year working on that version, but eventually hit burnout and couldn't decide where to go next. I thought about starting on something entirely new, like a sports multiplayer game, a Viking battleground simulator game, and plenty of other ideas. Ultimately, I decided to just take a break. During that break, in December 2023, I finally played Vampire Survivors, which I had heard so much about. I fell in love with the idea of the genre. I was hooked, and after Vampire Survivors, I played many other Survivors-like games that were released at the time. The concept of developing unique abilities and combos really resonated with me. I had an epiphany. What if I kept all the art I originally made for Nanoplanet, but made a spin-off game with a Survivors-like approach, one that was based on the same lore and background as my previous iteration of Nanoplanet? I really liked this idea, and my initial plan was to release this new version of the game by the end of 2023, but as you know, things didn't go as expected. As much as I'd like to be a full-time indie game developer, that isn't the reality. I have a full-time job, a part-time job, a family, and plenty of other responsibilities. Nanoplanet Survivors has always been a passion project. Initially, I was on track to participate in the Steam Nextfest in 2023, but I missed that deadline to submit my demo. Missing out on that opportunity was a major setback. Steam Nextfest is a huge factor for success in indie games. It provides much needed exposure and helps with building wish lists, which are crucial for gaining visibility in Steam's algorithm. Without participating in Nextfest, I didn't think it was worth it to push for a release, so I made the tough decision to delay the game and take my time adding more content, features, and polish. That's exactly what I've done. Although progress has been slow due to my competing priorities, it has been steady. Now I'm proud to say that I am set to participate in October 2024's Steam Nextfest. My game has passed all the Steam prerequisites. The demo is already available on Steam for press reviewers and anyone else like yourself who may want to try it leading up to the event. Now let me bring you up to speed on what's been happening with Nanoplanet Survivors. I've added a lot of exciting features since the last devlog, and I'm excited to share them with you, so let's jump right in. First off, I've introduced the new drone boss to Nanoplanet Survivors, which I briefly mentioned at the end of the last devlog. This boss is a large, heavily armed drone with spinning blades that will make you think twice before getting too close. Speaking of bosses, once you've defeated all 4 world bosses, you'll see a spaceship extraction sequence where you will return to your ship after clearing all the major threats. Once you reach the landing zone, your spaceship will fly off screen, completing your mission successfully. It adds a cinematic finish to the round, giving you a well-earned sense of victory after all that chaos. Loot goblins are still in, but their presentation has undergone a serious upgrade. Instead of using the old carnival style loot wheel UI, I've reworked the system to use a sci-fi arcade style slot machine. It's flashy, it's fun, and it feels much more thematically fitting. One of the more subtle but impactful additions is the shadow effect for character movement. I added this to help visualize your character's movement better, especially when things get hectic on screen. The shadow trails give a sense of speed and direction, making navigation feel smoother and more responsive. I've also implemented a new game over statistics screen that summarizes everything from your run after each round. You'll see details like time survived, enemies defeated, gold collected, and abilities used. It's a great way to reflect on your performance and strategize for your next round. Next up is the gameplay modifier system. These modifiers allow you to tweak different aspects of each run, similar to tarot cards in Vampire Survivors. Want enemies to spawn faster? Done. Want a one-hit death mode for a hardcore challenge? You got it. These modifiers are unlocked via achievements, adding a lot of replayability to the game, letting you customize your experience and ramp up the challenge when you want to. To make your progress even more rewarding, I've added achievement pop-ups that appear on screen as you unlock them. These provide instant gratification and serve as a nice surprise during your run, motivating you to push for those challenging goals. With all the different enemies in game, it can be hard to keep track of everything happening on screen. That's why I've also added shaders that visually indicate when you're affected by status effects, like slow, burn, poison, or stun. These effects now have a distinctive glow or overlay on the screen, making it easier to tell what's happening to your character and adapt accordingly. To make gameplay even more dynamic, I've added 8 characters, 16 new regular abilities, and 8 more ultimate abilities. Each character has a unique trait that they start with, and with expanded roster, this gives the player a lot more choices in how they tackle each run. There are countless combinations to explore, meaning no 2 playthroughs are going to be the same. I won't spoil all the new abilities, but there are some sneak peeks in the devlog footage if you look. With all these new abilities, I decided it was important for the player to have a space to freely test them out. That's why I created the Moonbase, a dedicated ability testing scene where you can try out different characters, abilities, and ultimates without the pressure of survival. It's also a great way to get a feel for the new abilities before diving into each run. I've also repurposed the Moonbase as a tutorial scene. It introduces new players to the mechanics of Nanoplanet Survivors in a relaxed environment. You'll get a feel for movement, abilities, upgrades, and enemies, all in the safety of the Moonbase. It's an interactive way to ease players into the chaos. Speaking of new scenes, I've added a brand new cinematic trailer to the game, which you might have seen snippets of throughout the devlog. This trailer sets the tone for the game, introducing the lore and providing context for your mission on Nanoplanet. It's something I'm particularly proud of, as it really ties together the story elements that were always part of the original vision. You can watch the full cinematic trailer on the Steam page or when you first open the game. Another small but crucial feature I've added is the mini-map that's accessible from the pause menu. This helps you navigate the large environment and figure out where you need to head to next, especially when looking for world bosses or your extraction point. This was a highly requested feature among internal testers. For players around the world, I've started implementing localization options. This means more people can enjoy Nanoplanet Survivors in their native language, opening the game up to a broader audience. It's still a work in progress, but I'm committed to making the game as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. I'm currently planning to localize the game in English, Spanish, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. To help keep the game balanced during and after release, I've set up server-side analytics to track round statistics. This data will help me understand what abilities players use most, which enemies are too tough or too weak, and where players are having the most fun. I'll use this information to make targeted adjustments and keep the game balanced and engaging. Of course, no update would be complete without a slew of bug fixes. From UI tweaks to performance improvements, I've tackled as many bugs as possible. For instance, issues like enemies not spawning properly or abilities not firing in the build have been addressed. It's all about making the experience smoother and more enjoyable. Lastly, there's been a lot of work behind the scenes to get the demo ready for Steam Nextfest, including creating and updating the Steam demo page. It's more than just putting a game up there, it's making sure it's presented in a way that draws players in with an engaging description, good key art, and overall polished storefront that makes a good impression. A lot of work went into that. Now I'd like to touch briefly on my future plans for Nanoplanet Survivors after Steam Nextfest. I haven't updated the release date for January 7th, 2025. I will release my game on this date. That is for certain. And to make sure that happens, I've rearranged my timeline to ensure that no matter how many competing priorities I have, there will be a completed product by that date. My previous timeline looked something like this. I planned to implement the pet system overhaul and in-game content last, after adding stages 2 and 3. However, since then, I've decided to flip that order. Immediately following Steam Nextfest, I will be reworking my pet system to allow for a variety of different pet AI elements, and asymmetric local couch co-op. Can't wait to tell you more about what I mean by this, but for now, think of the co-op modes in games similar to Mario Odyssey, where player 1 plays as Mario and player 2 plays as the Hat. Most of the actual gameplay will be driven by player 1, but player 2 can still participate and have fun without causing any issues if they're not as skilled as player 1. I think this mechanic will help set my game apart from other games in the genre. I also have some Easter eggs and in-game content planned to implement, but I'll touch on that in a future devlog. If I complete my game with plenty time to spare, which I hope to do, I plan to implement Stage 2, which will take place on a spaceship with some unique mechanics, and Stage 3, which will take place in a black hole with its own set of unique mechanics. The great thing about this plan is that if I can't finish implementing one or both of these stages in time, I'll still be able to release a complete version of this game, a complete vertical slice with a finished gameplay loop. I can add all this additional content like Stages 2 and 3 post-release in a future update without feeling bad about not getting it out on time. With all that said, I'm super excited to show off all the current content in Nanoplanet Survivors, and I wouldn't have gotten this far without the tremendous help from the Dads Who Dev Discord. They have helped me specifically with a ton of feedback, testing, bug fixing, and general recommendations for making the gameplay feel a lot better. Well, that's all for today's devlog. I really hope that if you made it this far, you'll take the time to download the free demo on Steam Nextfest and wishlist the game. Thank you for tuning in to another devlog about Nanoplanet Survivors. I can't wait to get this project into the community's hands. Until next time, like, subscribe, and I'll update you soon.